I'm Jacqueline Aguilera, and I thank you so much for joining us today. We do appreciate you taking the time to be with us and join us on this wonderful topic of workforce readiness and the soft skills. Today, I have the wonderful privilege of having as a guest Dr. Maria Franco from the Gulf Coast Workforce Board. She and I have had really an amazing opportunity to work together in different capacities in the past. And I am so pleased to invite her and bring her to you guys today so that she can join us as we explore and get into this particular topic. And I'll allow Maria to introduce herself and share her insights. Maria, where do you see the biggest opportunity in Texas to strengthen workforce readiness through soft skills, or sometimes they're called durability skills, employment skills, but kind of we go back and forth on that. But as a statewide kind of look from your perspective, introduce yourself and then kind of get us into that subject of what you see.
Okay, sounds good. So first, I want to introduce myself so everyone knows about my experience. So basically, I'm Maria Franco Cortes. I work as the senior planner for board relations and government affairs at the Gulf Coast Workforce Board. It's also known as Workforce Solutions for some of you, where I focus on connecting learners, educators, and employers across our region to help people succeed in the workplace. And this is not only Houston, it is 13 counties, all the way from Galveston to Austin County, Dallas County, and so forth. So before this, I worked in the nonprofit industry. I was doing community outreach to help people access training, jobs, and career resources. Of course, this experience gave me a deep understanding of the challenges that many learners face and what works to help them build their skills, right, that they need. When we talk about soft skills or durability skills, we talk about the most important ones sometimes, which are communication, adaptability, digital confidence, and problem solving, right? So now to go to the second question, when we talk about the statewide perspective at the Texas Workforce Commission, maybe what durability skills or soft skills are employers consistently looking or asking across the industry. I can see in my discussions at work, as the senior planner, I'm involved in a lot of committees and board meetings, and we have to meet with these employers to see what they're looking for. There are like 4 skills that they mention all the time, and we probably know about them. Like one of them is the communication skills. It's so important for us to build our communication skills. Employers want people who can clearly share ideas, that they can listen, they can collaborate. If we give some examples, for example, in healthcare, right? We are working in a hospital, so we need clear communication because our communication can directly impact the patient outcome. So it's very important for us to clearly communicate what is going on, both with the staff, our team, and also with the patients. And if we talk about manufacturing, it's about safety, right? You want to ensure that safety is in the floor. So communication is definitely a key aspect. We can move to maybe problem solving and critical thinking. So businesses and employers are always looking for employees who can identify issues, that they can think through solutions, and of course, adapt quickly when unexpected situations arise. So for example, during the pandemic, we all remember that moment, that difficult time, COVID hits. We were not expecting this to happen as fast as it happened, right? So what happened? Many of us have to transition from in-person to virtual. Many of us have to change our roles in the company. Some people have to transition positions. And if we don't have the problem solving and the critical thinking and adaptability, we're going to maybe let go, or we're going to be struggling at work. So we need to make sure that we're always trying to think critically and also trying to solve problems and adapt into the business environment. That's also something that we hear a lot from employers. Another one is work ethic and responsibility. So we know we always want to work around people that have ethics, right? And that is responsible. I think we all experience in our workplace, maybe sometimes we experience, and I'm going to be very straightforward here. So that's something that I want to clarify. Maybe there is a coworker, right, that arrives late to work, and maybe sometimes you have to work what you're not supposed to be doing, or maybe you have extra work or something like that. So we need to be responsible, right? That is a soft skills that employers are always looking for. That are working for a person that show us on time to the meetings, to work. It doesn't matter if our boss is there all the time micromanaging us. Maybe it's 8 a.m. Let me see who is here, right? I don't think I never experienced that before in the workplace, but people notice. I think people notice that you show up on time, you care about people's time. Like we are all in the meeting, we're expecting to start at 8 a.m. It's so important that we show it on time. It's respect for the work that we do and for others. So it sounds basic, but showing up on time, meeting deadlines, being accountable is still one of the top things that employers highlight all the time in the conversations. And this is for all the industries. It's not for one industry in specific. These are qualities that build trust and stability in the workplace. Another one is, like I was talking about, adaptability and learning ability. So let's focus most in the learning ability, because we already talked about adaptability. So sometimes there is a change at work, or let's talk about technology, right? Technology is advancing so fast. So it's so important that we are all the time maybe watching YouTube videos, maybe going to the library and reading some books, maybe join a group, or just doing volunteer work in our community. So we're all the time learning what is going on. Is it a new software that maybe I need to start learning? Is there maybe a skill that I don't have yet that I need to start developing so I can maybe get to the next step? I can be promoted. I can be a lead to my team. So this is so important. And of course, teamwork and interpersonal skills. It can be a small company, it can be a nonprofit, or it can be a multinational company. The ability to collaborate with a diverse team is crucial. We are here in Houston right now, and we know that we have sometimes people from everywhere, from all over the world, and we need to understand and be sensitive, right? We need to make sure what we say, maybe for one culture it means something, for another culture can be offensive. So it's so important that we're sensitive to that. And employers tell us all the time here at Workforce Solutions that someone with a strong interpersonal skills makes the entire organization more effective. So what is interesting is that maybe sometimes we have a lot of technical skills. Those soft skills are universal. They're for everyone and everywhere, and that makes a huge difference. So it's so important that we develop them. Okay, that was my answer for that question, Jackie.
I love it. And you led me to the development part. So, and this is where again your experience is so important, because you've been with the nonprofits, you've been working with clients and learners. So as a trainer or as an instructor working with clients, and you've mentioned so many important skills, what the employers are expecting. So it's our role to pre-skill our clients and learners. So can you give some ways that we can develop those types of training opportunities, working with the employers, resources that we can access as our role of the pre-skillers, the preparers of who the employers are looking for?
Of course. So one of the most effective ways to training providers can prepare job seekers is by connecting the classroom learning to the real world experience, right? Sometimes we hear, or I have heard in the past, something like universities, colleges, programs, they focus too much on the academic aspect, the theory, learning definitions, and all that, which is good, right? We need to know what things means, but sometimes we need a real life experience, because we finish a training, we finish a course, and then we go to find a job, we get at the job, and and then we're struggling, right? I don't really know if I'm communicating effectively. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. So it's very important that we bring those real life experiences to the learners, that they have the opportunity maybe to volunteer at a company, an organization, and they can experience what you're teaching them, not only in the concept, but in the real job, right? Employers every time say that soft skills like communication, teamwork, adaptability, and problem solving are important or critical, but they want to see them apply in the real workplace. Sometimes we can mention it in the resume, okay, I have these skills, but if we add a phrase, if we add a number that shows and reflects the experience of them, it's going to be more impactful, right? So we can talk about employer simulations or projects. So there is training programs that you can partner with, right, with companies to design industry-specific scenarios. So here at Workforce Solutions, we always mention industry-specific, right? It's so important, depending on the industry. For example, in healthcare, learners might practice patient communication or conflict resolution in that type of situation. It's very different to work, right, as a nurse or as a doctor than if you're working in a non-profit or something like that. Or, for example, in manufacturing, they could work through team problem solving exercises that mimic production challenges, right? This is going to give learners a safe space to apply soft skills in ways that reflect actual job duties. Another option can be guest speakers and mentorships. And I have seen them doing this a lot, sometimes even at work. We have like lunch time that we bring someone from another organization to talk about a topic or something. So it's very important that that these people that is teaching or helping people understand something, invite other like employers or experts in the community. And this is going to help share the real workplace stories and expectations. And then people is going to start grabbing like, oh, okay, now I understand what it means by this topic or what the employers are looking for. So bringing real people is very important. And sometimes it can include like a question and answer session. For example, with managers and team leads can help learners understand how communication or adaptability actually plays out in the job. Mentorship is also so important. I think at some point of our lives, we always need a mentor, right, that guide us through the process. Sometimes we have questions along the way, like I'm not sure what the next step is. I don't know if I'm communicating effectively. Sometimes we have these one-on-ones with our boss or with our coworkers, and we don't really know how to express ourselves. So mentorship is so important. Sometimes we need to ask, and it's fine. That's excellent that we're having a mentor to ask. So maybe bringing mentorship into these programs is also another option. And of course, we have heard a lot about internships, right? So internships is also an excellent way to gain hands-on experience. And they can add this to the resume. It's going to show like, oh, this person is not only going to this specific program to learn something, but it's also getting the real experience. So there is a structured internships, there is also apprenticeships. That is something that at Workforce Solutions we do a lot. You get paid at the same time that you're learning and you're advancing in your career. So this is another awesome opportunity. There is also short-term projects. We know like in the community, there is so many things going on, and some people don't value this. So for me, it's so important to mention this all the time. Volunteer work matters. And I'm saying it from my personal experience. When I came here to the US in 2013, I was starting college. I wasn't sure about the system. Everyone comes to me, a teacher, a friend saying, hey, there is a volunteer opportunity. People around me always tell me, don't do it. You don't have to work for free. Why are you wasting your time? And you start hearing all these comments, right? In my opinion, it matters. You help other people, you learn at the same time, and you make connections. And connections are so important, right? We can find a mentor there. We can find our next job there. So doing this type of community projects also help build the soft skills and also helps you advance in your career. Another thing that we can do is always seeking employer feedback. Like we are providers. We help people understand, learn, but sometimes we maybe offer the same material over, I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be updating this because, as I mentioned before, technology advanced, the workplace emerged. So we need to all the time be connecting with employers, trying to find a way to partner with them and have that communication about the industry. What is going on in the industry? What is going on in Houston, in Harris County? Is it a new program? Is it a new need? We know that all the time there is new companies moving here to the Gulf Coast area, and we need to know what they're looking for so we can help those learners get the skills that they need to get those high-paid jobs. So I think those are some recommendations on things that we can do to help our adult learners. Jackie.
A very rich answer. Thank you, Maria, so much. One of the things that I start thinking about is how, as an instructor, can I utilize this relationship, like with Texas Workforce, to make those connections with employers? Or does the Workforce Commission have some of that information on its website that we can refer to kind of really contextualize and start understanding employer needs, and being able to do that outreach? Is there a resource there that you guys have to help us out with our employer relations?
So yes, so right now we are transitioning into a new website, but this website is having information only for employers, but also for the people that is seeking jobs, and also for you guys that maybe there is someone here that is training someone, that is leading, that is a coach. We have resources for everyone. It's such a large system, so we always encourage them to maybe show up in person to some of our events. We're very responsive. We have career first. In this career first, you can also see the leadership staff all the time. We're open to talk with you about opportunities. We're here to help people succeed, right? So we really want to partner. We really want to transfer our data. We have economists, we have two amazing economists here that all the time bring the data, what is going on, what new jobs are coming, which jobs are the ones with the highest paid, how to get those jobs. And I think that information can be so useful for you, so you can transfer that to your students, right? So yes, we have that information. You can go to the website. It's going to be divided for employers, for job seekers, and so on. And you can find the economists reports that they produce. They usually produce this like in a monthly basis, so it's updated, and we have also everything separated by industries as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We've been talking about preparing the students, getting them with the soft skills, the durability skills. I mean, there are so many different definitions now to these types of skills. And getting them connected with the employers, bringing that employer experience to our classrooms. Once we get the bridge built, and let's say we develop the internship, the apprenticeships, that learner is now employed, and here we are, perhaps this is the learner's first time being fully employed, or employed at a self-sustaining wage. And there are so many options now that have never been available before, like health insurance and benefits policies and decisions that they have to make. So, looking at those decisions, how can adult education providers help the learners build the confidence that they need and the knowledge to make those decisions? Again, this is part of the durability skills. This is ensuring their success. So, how do we add that level to help pre-skill them for success?
So learners often face a lot of new responsibilities when they enter or they advance in the workforce. So things like health insurance, like you mentioned, Jackie, time off policies, retirement options, wellness programs are always overwhelming when you are there for the first time, right? So many learners haven't had to navigate that before. They maybe never have to choose between life insurance, or they never mention the word retirement account or 401k and all this type of things, right? So adult education providers play a critical role in building confidence and practical skills around these benefits. And they can do this, for example, by integrating benefits education into the programs. So I think I don't hear this often, but it's so important that at some point we stop and we teach them that there are benefits at work, that once you get a job, you're going to face decisions, right? You have to make decisions about which plan is better for you, what a deductible means, and all these kind of terms, right? So rather than maybe just lecture them about specific technical skills or things like that, providers can include topics like life insurance, like dental insurance, paid time off, wellness resources into the career preparation or the workforce training class. For example, when teaching budgeting, so it's so important that we also teach how to budget, right? Because you get a job, but then the person, if they don't know how to budget or they do the financials, they're going to struggle as well. So budget and financials is another topic that we can also add to it. So we can incorporate exercises about choosing health insurance plans, difference between health insurance plans, or maybe understanding deductions from the paycheck. Oh, this is a personal experience. I came from Colombia, right? And when I got my first job here, I was so excited to get my first paycheck. And then when I got my first paycheck, I was like, wait a minute, the money here. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, wait, where are they deducting so much money? So I think it's good that we can also start those discussions with the learners and let them know about the system and how deductions work and all that. That really helps a lot. Another option is also using real world examples and scenarios, right? Like when we started her first job, right? She has to shoot her life insurance and then just play like that. I think that really helps. So case studies or role-playing exercises can help learners practice making decisions. Presenting a scenario where someone must choose between high deductible plan and a more expensive premium plan can help learners see the trade-off and think through the consequences in a safe environment, right? Because they're learning, so they feel more safe to share, to ask. So that's so important. Another one, again, is partner with employers and benefits experts. I remember that is so many people in the health insurance industry or in the employer sites that they don't mind going to your company. They don't mind going to your organization, to your class, even banking, and all these people are always looking to educate the community. So maybe partner with employers and with some type of companies also help. Like, for example, you can bring an HR professional one day. So another day you can bring an insurance advisor or maybe a wellness coordinator, and you can have like a Q&A session in which the learners can ask, okay, what this means, what is the benefit of this? So I think that really helps a lot. And of course, another one is encouraging self-advocacy and resource literacy. So Jackie mentioned a lot, she has been asking about the resources. So it's so important that maybe we compile some resources for them, provide them these resources. So when they feel the need to seek this information, they know where to go. So it's so important that we do that. It could be an employer portal, it could be benefit summaries, it could be government resources. So that's very important. And of course, again, reinforcing digital and practical skills. So nowadays, they don't give you a book. Sometimes they just say, scan a QR code, go to a website, right? So that we already have a problem, right? We don't know what a high deductible is. And then you add a QR code to it. So it's even harder. So helping them scan a QR code in class and play the scenario to choose or read your benefits is another kind of example that we can help them, right? So linking these digital skills with the benefits knowledge ensures that learners can act on their decisions with confidence.
So here it is, what I'm hearing a lot from you is, there's not one track of information, but it's integration and really looking at combining the different types of skills that are needed. Where, again, looking at soft skills, and when we look at soft skills and the critical thinking, the communication, the problem solving, and looking at everyday life applications, I really enjoy hearing, again, open your classroom to the world, invite people in. We don't have to do it all ourselves as teachers, reaching out to the community. And this is kind of a side question because, my mind, you're talking,
Please.
so you're getting my teacher brain going. But how useful is it for if you have employers coming in to bring like materials from their workplace into the classroom, like hotels or banks or construction, for them to actually bring everyday materials into the classroom and share? How useful is that in building the confidence of the learners and pre-skilling them?
It is very, very, very useful. Sometimes, again, I go back, you learn the technical skill, but you don't put the confidence. You're like, okay, I'm out of this class, now what? Sometimes
Hmm.
it takes so many time to apply for a job because they are scared not only of the technical part of it, but what to expect with the relationships, how to approach someone, what to expect about those benefits. Oh, I'm afraid maybe to talk with HR, with finance. So if they have that knowledge in advance, they're going to show up with confidence, at least knowing that the HR department does this, the finance department does this, and that outside my workplace, there is a system that is there to support me, right? There is a banking system, there is a healthcare system. So it's so important that we bring those materials in advance so they can start like analyzing them and starting to understand the system. So when they show up to work, they're ready for it. They're not scared to ask questions. They're not scared just to make decisions, right? When we make decisions informed, we feel more confidence, right? But we have to make decisions sometimes in a topic that we never experienced before. What is the first thing you do? Like, for example, what I do is go to Google, go to YouTube, or go to someone, pick up the phone and call someone, right? Hey, have you ever done this when you're purchasing your first home? It can be so overwhelming, right?
Mm,
So you pick up,
yeah.
oh, I remember my friend, I remember this company provides guidance or a class for first-time home buyers or things like that. So it's so important that we give them all the resources. Sometimes it's hard, right? We don't want to give, it's hard for us to give all the resources available, right? But we find key resources and they go from there.
Excellent. Well, that transitions over. There are different types of resources. Like you said, we can get them from individuals in the community. We can generate them. Of course, we have curricula, and again, bringing in that real world application, not just the academics. The Center for Applied Learning for the Advancement of Literacy and Learning and Upskill Houston created two unique types of resources. And I'm going to share my screen now with you guys. I'm going to go back over to my my work area here. And this is one of the resources that's available. This is from the Center for the Advancement of Literacy and Learning. It's called Adult Ed Med. And they have actually used video lessons and resources using actual learners to create training videos that involve various topics. These are the learners, Adriana, Fernando, Fumi, Isaiah, and Krista. And the videos go through their experiences in looking for jobs and trying to advance themselves. Again, brought to you by the Texas Workforce Commission, the Department of Adult Education and Literacy. You have topics right here, and for our purposes, I'm going to go ahead and go into ESL because under ESL, it has how to communicate with others. They have the video, it's bilingual or in English. You have student resources, teacher resources. I'll go to the English side just for our purposes right
We
now to
tried
demonstrate.
everything,
We get
but
through the
Charlie
commercial real quick. Make this
did
painless.
IXL,
Yep.
a learning program.
And I'll just do a portion of this so you can get an idea of the resource that's available. This is again under communication.
Hello and welcome. I'm so happy you are here today for our session where we are going to discuss what to do when you do not understand a conversation. Have you ever been in a situation where others were talking and you did not understand everything? Maybe this has happened to you before, at the store, at school, the bank, or even at work. What do you do when someone is speaking in English and you do not understand? This happens to all of us in any language, not just in English. Comprehending information is important. If you do not understand, that could lead to a safety hazard, a missed appointment, an upset customer, or worse, getting in trouble with the boss. There are ways to prevent this, and this is by asking clarifying questions. What are clarifying questions? These are questions that help us understand better. When we use them, they provide us with more information. More information, better understanding. Now let's take a look at the types of clarifying questions. This would be a good time to pause the video and grab your notebook and a pencil so you could take some notes. Copy the chart into your notebook. Okay, let's begin by looking at the first clarifying question. Could you repeat that slower, please? Write this under the first column. Using your chart, write the purpose under the second column. You use this phrase to signal that you want the speaker to say the same information again, but slowly. We will practice the pronunciation shortly.
So this is the first resource that I wanted to share with you guys. And again, it goes into a lot more details. It also prompts you as an instructor when to pause. And then again, helping your learners to go through the lessons. And again, this is a free resource, I like to call them budget friendly, brought to you through TCAL. The second resource that I wanted to use before I go into my discussion further with using these types of tools with Maria is through a partnership with Upskill Houston. Upskill Houston works with the Greater Houston Partnership, and they developed a series of animations working with two authors named Red and Black. And these can serve as warm-ups or short introductions to the topics of soft skills. And on here, this particular resource, soft skill animation series, and it begins here. It gives a short discussion on soft skills. And on this site, you have the full hyperlink list of all of the different soft skills that the Greater Houston Partnership and Upskill Houston identified through their employer network as important skills to develop whenever you're working with clients and learners. And I'm just going to show one of these just for an illustration. What are soft skills? So I'm going to go ahead and go here. And
uncover the Italy of your dreams on a journey tailored to you.
And here we go.
Technology and technical skills change. What remains constant is employers are looking for workers with employability skills, such as problem solving, persistence, communications, and so on.
Back in my corporate days, I called them soft skills. The education world calls them 21st century skills. Hey, I'm old enough to remember using them in the last century.
I have to admit, as a mere mortal mom, I used to think these were corporate or professional skills. Then Black made me realize that I possess them too, but I prefer to call them life skills.
What I like about this particular set of series is they always include a short explanation about the employability skills, and they give the prompt. Ask yourself, how does this skill apply in my personal life? How does this skill apply in the workforce? And that's what makes these animations really good icebreakers, warm-ups. Even if you have a guest, you can use these to kind of, again, help your learners get introduced to the topic. And each of these is a different type of 30-second to 1 minute, 1.5 minute videos on each of these topics. Again, alternate resources that are available. So, given that, Maria, and your perspective, your experience working across different regions, you talked about alternative resources and things that we can use in the classroom. These types of online tools, these videos and things that the educators can use to adapt. What makes scenario based, because you talked about the academic versus real world. So what makes scenario based resources like these that I've shared effective for preparing learners for real world expectations?
Well, scenario-based resources like these ones that you just showed us, like Upskill Houston, are effective because they bridge the gap between the classroom learning and the real workplace experience, right? So learners often benefit most when they can see, they can hear, and they can interact with situations that mirror what they will face on the job. So sometimes we hear, not everyone learns the same, right? Maybe you like to read, maybe this person likes to see, maybe this person likes to hear, and some other ones, like me, I like to mimic things. When I'm studying, sometimes I like to mimic that I am in the test. Sometimes I like to mimic that I am in the interview. So that helps me, right? So we need to identify what works for our students, and sometimes we have a diverse group in the classroom, so maybe we can integrate all of them so everyone can learn and grab what they need, right? So scenario allows learners to practice decision-making in a safe environment. For example, a video might show a workplace conflict or maybe a customer service challenge, and learners can pause, they can reflect, and they can consider how they will respond before seeing the outcome. So sometimes we get too excited, we talk about the topic, we show the video, and we give them the answer. No, we need to show them the video, give them some time to talk about it, brainstorm, and then show them what the correct answer is, right? So another thing is the industry relevance. So when scenarios are designed to reflect a specific workplace expectations, learners can connect with what they're learning directly, right, to the skills the employer wants. So like communication, it could be teamwork, it could be problem solving, it could be digital literacy. It is not an abstract theory. It is practice that translates into immediately to the job. So online video animations allow educators to adapt content to different regions, maybe different industries, and different learning needs. So learners can revisit the models. We know that sometimes in school or when we are taking a class in college, I remember they provide you with some models that you can look on your own. So maybe giving them some access to these videos, providing the link to them, providing these resources that on the free time, maybe they can go revisit these models. They can practice on their own space. We know that some people is shy. There might be some people that like to contribute and other ones that just stay quiet, right? But maybe on their own time, they just want to practice, right? They just want to go to the video and start practicing on your own so they can absorb the content in different ways that fit their schedules, their lives, and so on. Another one, of course, is the visual and the interactive reinforcement. I think we all like, or most of us like to watch movies or things like that. We get so into it. And we remember what happened in the movie too, right? So we went to the movies and we're sharing with our friends and coworkers. I went to watch the movie and this happened and I love this. The same thing happened in the classroom. You gotta be interactive. You gotta reinforce. You gotta use images, colors, things that are attractive. I remember some comments back in the days when I used to be in English, I was doing ESL, and people were so bored in class. I remember it was saying, oh, we always talk about the same. We always just read. We always just do this, right? So we want to break that. We want to be interactive. It's nothing wrong with having discussions. It's nothing wrong to bringing music, a video. These things really help people understand and most important, to keep them with them. So when they are in the workplace, they can adopt all these techniques, right? Another one is opportunity for reflection and feedback. So feedback is so important. Also at the beginning of my career, there was a misconception among friends and people that when you get feedback, it's a bad thing, right? You're doing something wrong. your boss is telling you that's not the way you do it, or maybe someone is telling you there is a better way, you get offended, right? So teaching our learners that getting feedback is amazing. You grow from it. You grow from all the maybe feedback that your boss provided. You can do it better next time. Or maybe a friend comes to you saying, oh, I went through the same situation and I think you can do this better. So that is a good way to maybe explain learnings, that reflection and feedback really, really help us. And of course, there is a difference between being critic, right? Like people criticizing your work and getting feedback. So that's also so important, because comments sometimes can also feel that we're doing things wrong and they can stop us, right? So that's a totally different topic, but feedback is very, very important to help us succeed and analyze things and approach things in a better way.
I just returned from South by Southwest EDU in Austin, and one of the presenters there really drove home the point that the golden currency, that's what I call it, the golden currency of our age is thinking. And what I've heard from you several times, just it really goes into that thinking mode before responding right away, before just jumping in, before even delivering a message. Like you just talked about feedback, the way, what's the difference between being critical and giving feedback? So the thinking aspect for employers, and you mentioned this earlier about problem solving skills, the thinking development. How do you suggest, we as, again, building those opportunities to experience, not just talk about it academically, but helping our clients and learners experience relevant opportunities to think that apply to workforce? What do you suggest about that? How do we work with that?
Again, the way I learned was doing volunteer work, was taking action, right? It's not just like sitting and listening. That's part of the process, but it's the most important part is when you expose yourself to real experiences, right? When you are in a group, in a community work, you are more likely to take the lead. You're more likely to start a conversation, right? Because you are in a safe setting. You think, oh, I'm volunteer. Oh, yeah, they value what I'm doing. Let me just go for it. And then you start learning that you have certain abilities, right? It's so important that we listen, and sometimes we just try. So, okay, we're in a meeting, right? And we think we're listening. We're not sometimes. We're not. Let's be honest. Sometimes we're thinking about something else. And it happens to everyone, not only to the learners. Sometimes we are distracted. So it's very important that we start applying self-discipline and that we start teaching our brain that we're doing something. Okay, I'm going to work and I'm in this meeting. Now I'm going to stop whatever my thoughts are and I'm going to focus on what is going on. Right? And then when you don't understand something, you can ask, do you mean this? Well, excuse me, did I hear this right? Those type of phrases are valid and are so important, because sometimes we assume, right? We assume they told me to do this, or we assume we have to send the email by this time, but it's not. So it's very important that we collaborate, that we listen, and we provide that feedback in the communication, right? We are in the phone, we don't see the person. And sometimes it's hard to understand. So we just, okay, just to clarify, do you want me to reach out to this person and then do this? And it's fine. They tell you yes, oh no, and also do this, right? So these type of things are so important that we really get into exposing ourselves and understanding that we have to be in the moment. That's something that I learned too. Sometimes you are in class and you start thinking, okay, it's almost 1 hour to go, right? And you miss learning because you are not there. So this applies to everyone, and just teaching our learners have self-discipline. There is a time for everything, right? So there is so many tools. We talk about the budgeting. We talk about the schedule. Having a calendar helps. We have a time for everything. We add our lunch time. We add our self-time. We add the meeting time. So doing this really, really help us be in the moment and understand what we're doing better. And then people see that, your boss see that. believe me, they come to you and they say, oh, I like how organized you are. Oh, I like that you show up on time. I like that you do this. People really notice, and there are small things that make a huge difference.
Excellent. You know, you've been on a lot of media. You've been interviewed on a lot of shows and things. I mean, you really have been uh, in the community representing, you know, workforce. And so considering the broader national workforce landscape, and what trends do you see that align where Texas is heading?
So I see the demand for soft skills. Across the US, employers are emphasizing communication, they're emphasizing teamwork, they're emphasizing adaptability skills. They transcend beyond a specific job roles or industries. And Texas mirrors that, mirrors this trend, with businesses asking for employers to use good judgment all the time, work as a team, and adapt quickly to change. These skills help workers thrive in a fast, evolving environment. And we hear this all the time. We go to El Campo, we go to Dallas, we go to meet with these employers because they're bringing a new manufacturing company or something. And we always ask, what are you looking for? They always mention the technical part, but they always add the soft skills part. So it's definitely something that we can see in a national level and in a local level. Another thing is the digital skills. It's definitely very important right now. So nationally, digital literacy is becoming essential, even in roles that traditionally were not tech focused, right? Before they were not focusing on technology, but nowadays, like everyone has a tech component in their work. Even if it's just sending emails, even if it's just doing engineering and managing big softwares, every single job is transitioning into adding technology into the workplace. So it's very important that we use technology and we adapt to the new tools. I know back in the days, it was only Microsoft Word and Gmail. Right nowadays, that is like Canva, right? Canva is it's something that everyone should be using right now, right? It saves you time. It has templates for you. And maybe for the people that work in communications, there is MailChimp that helps you send the newsletters. So learning all these different softwares really help you, because maybe when you're in a work discussion, your boss asks you or asks the team, does anyone knows what program can help us with this? Right? Most people is quiet, but if you raise your hand and you say, oh, I've been doing some research, I hear about this one, or I hear about that one, that is definitely going to position you better, right? Maybe as a leader in technology in your workplace. So that's so important. And we also have the hybrid or remote work environments. And definitely, many people wants to get a remote job. Many people want the flexibility to maybe go from work from home and work from the office at the same time, right? Some days from the home, some days from the office. But if you don't have the skills, if you don't know about computers, if you don't have good communication skills, you're not going to get that job. Or if you get it, you're going to fail, right? Because it's a different setting. You're not seeing the people face to face. You gotta be more motivated to work on your own and things like that. So it's very important that we also start developing those type of skills, right? There is another one that is the lifelong learning and upskilling. There is a strong national trend toward continuous learning. And I mentioned this as well as the beginning. Sometimes we think we know it all, or sometimes we just get tired, right? Because we work hard. And at the end of the day, we're done. We just want to go home and that's it. But it really makes a difference when you start maybe enrolling in a course online. You know, many companies, many like Google provide you with training for free, or many of your workplace maybe pay for your education. And sometimes we miss those dollars to get maybe into a conference or to enroll in a course. So it's very important that we're always looking how I can get more skills. How can I improve my skills as well? We have a skill, but we need to get better and better over time. So I always tell people it's good for you to always keep educating yourself. It doesn't have to be formal education. It doesn't have to be going for another master's or something like that, which, by the way, I'm very I love school, so I'm always there, and people always ask me, why are you getting another degree? But that's not the only thing that matters, right? You can join a community group that meets every week about reading and things like that. And that helps you, because everywhere you get to these groups, you can get more connections, right? And connections are also very, very important when it comes to the workplace. So yeah, those are things that we see in the national level, but that we should be doing here in the local level as well.
And it's very interesting because, again, you're expanding our possibly traditional view of soft skills and really looking at wider applications. Again, just you mentioned about electronic communications, and again, that's still communication. There is a way to express yourself in an email that unintentionally or not, you can come across as angry, yelling, using all caps. So, you know, evolving our skill sets and looking at, you know, again, soft skills. There's so many different terms. In your experience, what do you prefer to call soft skills? Because this soft idea sometimes implies they're not as important, or, you know, what would you, if you could reterm these skills, what would you term them?
That is a hard question, Jackie. I was not expecting that one. You're right. Sometimes people misinterpret, like, you know, only focusing on technical skills, and soft skills are just like a plus, but not that important, right? I will be calling them maybe, I don't know. I think they're everything. So it's universal skills, maybe. I will call them universal because everyone needs them, no matter where they are, no matter the place, the region, or the industry. We all need to have them to improve, to be a better leader, showing up on time, having clear communication is something that we all need. So for me, they're universal skills.
I like that. That's a great answer. And which of the, and we'll use, this is Maria world. So which of the universal skills have served you best in your career, in your experience?
For me, communication. So for me, communication is everything. And it's not only in the personal level, but it's how it helps the organization as well. Sometimes you feel the disconnection. I have experienced it in the past, the disconnection between departments, the disconnection between teams, and people struggle. How can we make this better? It's communication. It's just opening yourself. It's just being the leader and trying to help by asking questions, by saying, hey, can we meet? By listening as well. So communication involves active listening as well, right? So when you learn how to listen and understand what other people need and means and want, you start evolving in your workplace. People start seeking your advice. Sometimes you don't even want that, but they come to you because you're listening and you kind of grab a little bit of what is going on here and here, not only in your team. So opening yourself and being a leader in many aspects, even if it's not part of your job title, is something that really helps as well.
That's great. And you mentioned earlier in the beginning a very important word, respect. And it seems like understanding that these types of skills are part of respecting each other. And connecting with each other. We've mentioned so many different types of resources and tools and the different types of skills. So as a teacher, as an instructor or a trainer, I'm sitting here with all this information and all these resources. What would you suggest? One actionable step that someone could take to implement, to strengthen soft skills, something they could start doing next week, in this semester, not to feel overwhelmed, but in a step in the right direction towards developing stronger soft skills for the learners.
Well, something that we can start doing is using technology and starting adding scenario-based questions and simulations to our lessons. In the next week, we can start doing that. We can just start asking ChatGPT, this is what I do. This is my goal. Give me some scenarios and some possible answers. Of course, we're not going to trust AI 100%, right? But it's definitely a good tool to use. Nowadays, we can use this to simulate, to ask questions and things like that, and bring that to your students. I think it's going to make such a huge difference. They're going to really learn, and adding those resources that Jackie also showed us, those videos, those lessons that they can take on their own time. Start adding those links in the PowerPoint. Start adding QR codes that take them to a video, to a visual, to an animation. That really helps. And you don't have to change your whole PowerPoint, but you can just add that QR code, add that video, and that scenario at the end. I think that's really going to help.
Thank you so much. Maria, I feel like we could go on and on, but I want to thank you. So, Maria, any closing? How can people get in touch with you? Can they get in touch with you if they have any questions or follow-ups?
Oh, yeah, I love to get in touch with people. So
okay, you heard her, everybody. She loves it.
Yes, I love to connect. I love to volunteer as well. I like to work together. So I think for me, LinkedIn is a big tool. So you can always find me as Dr. Maria Franco Cortes. But I can also, in the chat, put my email address. Like I say, I work for the Gulf Coast Workforce Board as well as Workforce Solutions. We have a lot of events, career fairs, we have employers meetups and things like that that you can join. And if you have any questions, just please let me know. I will be happy to help.
You guys, thank you so much for spending your hour today with the Best of Texas, Literacy Texas. If you have people that you would like to hear from, if you would like us to have as guests, please feel free to contact us and let us know. We want to make sure that we have a diverse representation of the movers and shakers and the leaders across the big state of Texas. Thank you for spending this time with us every second Thursday of the month. Best of Texas, Literacy Texas. Thank you all for what you do every day to make a difference in the lives of our learners and communities.